Hello, everyone, and welcome to Taking Over. We're on the wrong sides because I had some technical difficulties during the introduction. I am, of course, OLED Ed Fries, as Barry apparently doesn't know because he's not sure which stream has which people. But he'll give it 5 minutes and take a look. But Barry, I'm OLED, I'm Ed Fries, and this is the natural, astridpizarro. You might know us. We're here every Tuesday night. Not sure how you haven't figured that one out yet, buddy. But you gotta give Barry some time. It's okay. It's 3 a.m. for Barry. He's a little tired. He's a little wired. No, I'm just kidding. But throughout this entire episode, I was like, will this episode ever end? My buddy Rob says, even I figured it out. Rob will be very happy. There's Cora Jade to talk about on this episode. But throughout this entire episode, I was like, is it over yet? Are we done yet? Because it was kind of a ho-hum episode of NXT for the most part. And then the finish. We're just going to start there. But before we get started, because people are already saying it, good evening, Mel. Hello. And of course, Basser brings it up. Congrats on the press pass for the Rumble. Yes, our own astridpizarro is not only going to the Rumble, she is going to be a member of the press for WWE during the Royal Rumble. So it is going to be very fantastic to see that. I thought Astrid had grown her beard back again before you swap pictures. Yeah, almost. Speaking of the man with the beard who was there for Astrid a couple weeks ago, Melball says, just jumping in before I start recording with Andre. Well, you guys have a great show, and they're going to have a new show coming to our local establishment. It's going to be airing, I believe, on Wednesday this afternoon or Wednesday evening. We're going to have a recap, I think, of 2023 in New Japan and Stardom, as they're going to start bringing a weekly episode of the kind of things that happen in Japanese wrestling for our local establishment team. So it's going to be fun to see them, and you're going to get an idea of what they do so you can go support their content on Dream Melball Wrestling Talk. But we're here to talk about NXT, and what better way to start than, no, not Tiffany in the water, no. Oba Femi is your new North American champion. 1 week after winning the contract, Oba Femi has cashed in and won the North American Championship. I love it. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, I'm like we were thinking from the beginning, it's like, how is Dragon Lee doing this while he's in the main roster? How long is this gonna last? And it's like, how come he's able to do this in Dom too, but certain people are not able to have the championship while being on the main roster? So I think this is just a great send off to Dragon Lee. He had a great run. I love the open challenges. I think I'm like, you already have Oba Femi getting hot off this tournament. Might as well just, tape a rocket to him and take him off to the moon at this point, because you gotta to the moon. You gotta take those moments of like when you notice how they're popular and you gotta cash on that. And right now you see how you can hear it from just this match in itself. The crowd was so into him. I was like, yeah, he's definitely gonna win this, and I feel like this is something that we needed to see happen. Again, this is exactly what I also wanted to happen with Lola as well, but we're not going that route. It seems like with Lola, every week I'm getting like more and more disappointed about her. I don't know, tournament win, I guess, compared to him, but yeah.
So here's the difference. When Oba Femi came out to cash in the contract, the crowd gave a damn. When Lola Vice came out to cash out the contract,
crickets.
not so much. And that has nothing to do with men versus women. I think it has to do specifically with two different characters. Lola Vice has not been the best portrayed character on television. More importantly, they have given us, one, a big burly dude that just throws people around. People like dudes like that. We like to see our wrestlers that can just take little guys like Dragon Lee. Perfect example tonight. He gets to take Dragon Lee and just toss it. Barry coming in and saying, Oba Femi waiting to go for the title after Dominic lost it made great sense. I mean, if you want to hear crickets on a show about year-end awards, you need to find out whomst I picked for my Wrestler of the Year. So go back and watch the award show. It is on the YouTube channel. You can go ahead and find it. And you can listen to 3 other people dead silence. I maintain I have valid reasons why my Wrestler of the Year in WWE is the absolute best pick. And you'll find
Silence again. Let's
about
move
the
on.
You know what, though? I have one person in this chat who does agree with me. Anyways, we're going to go back to the start of the show. Barry also says, Obafemi's not bad on the mic, which helps. I agree. He cut a digital exclusive promo earlier this week, which I showed to Ash, which I loved. It gave him a minute and a half where he was just talking. And yes, he has an accent, but it's a clear, concise voice. It's a good voice. It has some power to it, but it's not too strong. You can understand him. He tells a nice story. Now, granted, they could be very choreographed promos. Who cares? He's doing a very good job with them. More importantly, you put him over there with Lexis King in a promo segment. And while he may not have been as charismatic as Lexis King in that segment, at the end of that segment, he captures everybody's attention when he looks at Kelly and he goes, "That's the main event tonight, right?" She goes, "It is." And he just looks at the contract and goes, "Okay.
Noted."
Noted." Ed is wise. Dom is great.
Though I would I wish he would have thrown Lexis around though. Like it would have been awesome to see it as a 3-way and having thrown Lexis around too. I would have loved to see that too. I would have been fine with it too.
I was worried when the bell rang that Lexis was going to get involved and it was just going to lead to a story between Oba and Lexis. And I was like, oh, you throw it away after 1 week. And then I thought when Dragon Lee attacked, I thought that was Lexis King. And I was like, oh, that makes sense. He's going to tease the cash-in to prove to Lexis that he can be the champion that Lexis can't. And Lexis is going to screw him. And it starts. I'm like, oh, that would be a good program to get to Vengeance Day. But again, we'll get to all that when we get back to the main event. But we do want to start with the shock of it all, that Obafemi ends the night as North American champion. We start the night, however, and again, more fun with Ed and videos. Nikkita Lyons was arriving at the arena. Unfortunately, she's attacked by Blair Davenport. And NXT does a very bad job of telling us whether or not they stopped fighting. It looked as if they started fighting and then continued fighting all the way to the ring, where they were in their ring gear, which means that Nikkita then would have had to have driven to the arena in her ring gear, which would have been probably uncomfortable, I would imagine. I mean, you're a girl. Does that ring gear look like it'd be ultra comfortable to drive in?
I wouldn't, to be honest.
You wouldn't? All right. And also that would have meant Blair Davenport was wearing her ring gear underneath the attire that she had on, which again, while more comfortable, still not quite the type of thing that you want to wear while driving.
No.
But they brawled backstage all the way out to the ring after a small break where they put on their ring gear to go ahead and brawl again, as Vic Joseph tells us. And this is a fun little brawly wrestling match. Nikkita looks good here. Blair gives her a lot in this match while also being able to have Blair focus almost entirely on the knee, which makes perfect sense. Blair injured the knee. She knows the knee's an issue. She attacks the knee throughout the match. I mean, it sounds silly to say it, but damn, it's nice to see somebody understand how the match psychology is supposed to work.
No.
How many times do we see somebody come back from injury and the person they wrestle who hurt them is like, I don't need to attack that body part. Let's move on to something else.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I just think the beginning, I would have done it differently in the sense of maybe it had them kind of getting ready backstage and then it started the fight backstage, because at one point Vic starts and says, oh, they've been fighting for 15 minutes for straight or something like that along those words. But they went from the parking lot in their street clothes to the show in their gear. So they must have stopped somewhere. When did they stop? So it hasn't been constant for 15 minutes. Don't lie to me, Vic. Really don't. But no, I like the match in itself, though. I feel like I like how we started with like Nikkita being like, this is my time to take the revenge. She goes off and doesn't stop on Blair. But once I could notice something was going to happen with the knee sooner or later, because she went a little bit slower when she went to hit the knee with the post. And I was like, yeah, I kind of felt like that was happening. And then the way she came in the ring as well afterwards, she came a little bit too slow, and I was like, yeah, I'm waiting. She's waiting for Blair to hit that knee on the way in the in the match in itself too. But again, it's just one of those things that I love about heels, when you know they have a weak spot you go at it. And I like how at the end, even when you think about it, Blair's actual finisher moves an knee strike. So of all things, you have to hit her with the knee in her face to win the match. The only thing I was surprised about is that it was a little bit short for my liking because I was enjoying the match and that it ended. But I feel like we're gonna see it again somehow. So I feel like that's why it was kind of short, kind of like introducing it, and then they'll give us a little bit longer later. But that's the only like downfall ish if you want to take it that way.
They had a lot to do tonight, so I understand having a bit of a
Yeah.
short match because they kind of overbooked themselves throughout the night with things that they didn't need. Um,
Yeah.
but no, I agree with you entirely that I think it was weird that they took this route with that story. It was weird. And again, I kind of forgive Nikkita because you got to remember, she was an up and coming wrestler who was still very green when she got hurt. And then she's out for a year. So she not only was she behind people like Tiffany Stratton, Fallon Henley, Kiana James before, but now she's a year out from them again because of that she's been out for this last year. So yeah, did she telegraph things a bit too much? Yeah, but at the same time, first real match, and it's what, her third match back. It's her first real singles match. Let's be honest. Tatum Paxley a couple weeks ago does not count as a singles match. So it's her first real singles match back, and I think her and Blair worked very well together. And I'm honestly excited to see the next match in this series because, like you said, I think that there's definitely going to be one or two more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's the only reason why I felt it was short. But
yeah,
probably.
My buddy Rob, I posted this while Asher was talking. Fashion over comfort, don't you know? And Barry, NXT wrestlers know the danger of the car park. They come prepared. They do indeed. Also, don't forget, our good friend Bobby Munson is here. And remember, you can have the week of Munson that was last week, where he was on Ring Respect Radio on Thursday. He was on a show with me on Friday for the year-end awards. He did the MLW watch-along of the train wreck that was MLW Coliseum, or as Alex Kane calls it, an epic, wonderful show. You can ask Bobby what he thinks of his man crush, Mr. Alex Kane, saying that on TikTok this week. And then, of course, Point of View this Sunday. So you can catch all those shows on the YouTube channel. So make sure you go ahead and check out Bobby. He does Even Couples Argue. Yes, you and your man crush Alex Kane argue. I just can't wait to watch you tell him that you didn't think that show was a good show. Because I want to see his response to that. Speaking of responses, after we get Nikkita versus Blair, we go to a Dusty Classic promo narrated by Cody Rhodes. And it just feels good to hear Cody talking about Dusty and the tournament. It's fine. It's a promo, but it does give us our first look at the brackets. Well, it doesn't give us the brackets, but it gave us the 7 teams that we knew going in. And I'm going to pull up the brackets now because we'll hear about yeah. We'll hear about the last team in just a moment. But here's the brackets. So we got Baron Corbin and Bron Breakker taking on Gallus tonight. We've got Hank Walker and Tank Ledger taking on Axiom and Nathan Frazer tonight. We also knew that Anofe and Blade and Chase U comprised of Riley Osborne and Duke Hudson, as made by JC Jane, the now superintendent of Chase U, I guess you'd call her. I don't know. The HBIC, maybe, of Chase U. Either way. And then, of course, we now know the LWO is going to be in it. And as you can see by the graphic, Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams. Because in the next segment, Melo talks about, hey, Trick, I've got great news for you. And Trick's like, look. I don't know if that's such a great news because last week you had great news for me and it almost cost me my championship match against Ilya. I don't know if I want to go with your great news. Why don't you tell me what you've done and I'll tell you whether or not it's great or not. Trick learning very quickly that Melo's not to be trusted. Mm-hmm. Victor, get on board. Melo did it, Victor. Melo did it. Yeah. Either way, Carmelo Hayes talks about, you know what? No. Last week, I had to go out there because Sean kept tweeting about an NXT champion coming in, and I didn't want them to ruin your match and, cost you the championship match. So I got us this tag team title opportunity by putting us in the Dusty Classic. And when we win, I could be a Triple Crown champion. And you could be 2-belt Trick. Or was it 2-title Trick? I think it was. TTT.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
While 2-title Trick is nice. And obviously, I would love for Carmelo Hayes to be the second Triple Crown champion in NXT, third Triple Crown champion in NXT history. I almost forgot about one guy. Just because he's in AEW doesn't mean he's no longer a Triple Crown champion. He's even a devil. He even tried to steal Carmelo Hayes' trick catchphrase. Well, at least AEW marketing tried to steal it from him. Anyways, yeah. What do you think about Trick and Melo being in the tournament here?
I mean, I called the those we were watching the show and they had the video package. You were naming the teams for our notes. And I go, and you said there were 7 teams, and I'm like here doing my process of elimination to figure out who's the other team. And I go, I think it's Trick Mello. And you said no, but I think that I'm like, and then I kept thinking about it, and I was like, no, I think they'll have Trick too busy with Ilya moving forward, and I don't think it'll be good for Carmelo. And then I think you mentioned something along those lines too. And then we get this backstage segment, and he goes, "Yeah, put us in the Dusty Classic." And I go, "Oops, never mind, never mind. I cancel what I just." But again, I feel like this is gonna keep building up to the trust issues that Trick already has with Carmelo to further that storyline. But yeah, I think it'll be interesting how they decide to do that. While I guess Dragunov is out for the time being.
Speaking of Dragunov being out for the time being, do you think Ilya picked up an actual injury and they used the Ridge thing to cover up an actual other injury? Because it's weird to just give this is your road to your WrestleMania. It feels weird to be giving the world champion this much time off, especially after NXT Deadline. The whole point of Deadline there was to get you to New Year's Evil, which is to get you to Vengeance Day, which gets you to Stand and Deliver. And it seems weird that they're just dropping, they're not dropping it because Trick continues to bring it up, but it feels weird that we're just missing Ilya Dragunov right now for no real reason. And
yeah, and so far all the reports that were the injury was basically a stage and everything, but at the end I kept thinking what is really happening though?
But I agree that the injury is probably staged and that it's not that big a deal. But you look at this tournament bracket, there's no reason why Melo and Hayes don't face off against Bron Breakker and Baron Corbin in the finals there. There's just no reason why you don't do that match. It makes way too much sense. What are you gonna do? The LWO versus Baron and Bron? There's not one heel team on that other side of the bracket. Unless you... Okay, there's an Ofe and Blade, but I don't consider them heels because I don't consider them anything other than fodder. And they're not beating Trick Mello next week.
Yeah.
So it's it just feels weird that you have Trick Mello there and you don't bring them to Vengeance Day. Which means that Trick's not wrestling Ilya at Vengeance Day, which then goes, so you don't do Mello versus Trick at Vengeance Day because they're probably going to be in the Dusty Finals. And you're not doing Ilya Trick there because Trick's in the finals. So does that mean you're doing Ilya Trick at Stand and Deliver?
That's what
and if you do Ilya and Trick at Stand and Deliver, that means you're not doing Mello and Trick at Stand and Deliver, which seems to be an even bigger waste. So it's unless you do the triple threat, there's just I feel like I'm Charlie Day and I'm Always Sunny in Philadelphia and I got my little pins in my red thing trying to go from match to match, figure out how the hell to book this show.
Yeah,
something seems off, and the only thing I can think is that they were planning a specific road to Stand and Deliver, and Ilya got hurt. And they knew Ilya was hurt, and they knew he was going to take time off. So they're like, well, Ridge, you can hurt Ilya, and it'll play into the storyline that we want to do with you. Which, again, they've done a very good job of making it not about Big E, so I feel a lot better about the Ridge storyline now, because NXT's explained it away a little bit. They've at least tried to explain it away without using Big E, which makes everybody feel a lot better.
I don't know. Too many questions.
Barry Monkey says Baron and Bron versus the Creeds is the match I want to see at some point. Styles would be. I agree. I think that would have been the great match to have, but they sent the Creeds up to the main roster for some reason. For reasons. Oh, there's so many things wrong right now. But speaking of Corbin and Baron, we get them going out to the ring to take on Gallus in the first round, and I'm like, well, this seems weird. Heel versus heel in the first round? And then you had babyface versus babyface in the next match, and I'm like, there should have been some swapping here. I much would have preferred Baron and Bron taking on Hank Tank.
Mm-hmm.
And then have Nathan and Axiom taking on Gallus.
Yep.
Because I think you still get to the same match, which is Nathan and Axiom versus Bron and Baron next week or in 2 weeks. You still get to that exact same match, but you get to it a lot better because both matches would have been better because I didn't like either of these matches. Although I do like Baron and Bron as a tag team. They're a whole lot of fun.
Yeah, they're growing on me, but why? I didn't know how to feel about them together at first, but I feel like they keep growing on me. I feel like they definitely show more chemistry tonight during the match in itself. And I like the parts where, like, for example, Baron selling the way, like, his hand got hit with the post, and then Gallus taking over and taking advantage of that. But even at the end, just like having Bron over here with the spear, and then having Baron here with the end of this almost at the same time, I was like, that was beautiful to see visually, and I love how the match ended. But I feel like the match was like okay for me.
Yeah, it was an alright match. It was fine. I really like the end of the match. And Barry brings up the exact point I wanted to bring. Baron has a personality, which has helped Bron. Bron Breakker has been so fun to watch in the little bits that we've seen him in the last 2 weeks. Why? Because he's playing off Baron Corbin in a fun and interesting way, and it's making him interesting. The looks, the non-verbal visuals, even the verbal stuff from Bron Breakker has been fun to listen to with the two of them during this match when they can't get along. During the end of the match, when Bron Breakker's setting up to finish off Mark Coffey, and Baron tags himself in, and then they do the spot that Astrid talked about. It was just fun to watch. They were fun to watch on screen. They are my pick to win this because I don't think you put Trick Mello over in this. I think this is destined to be these guys, especially with the babyface tag team champions in the family. But I've been wrong before because if we go back to all the Dusty Classics, Finn Balor and Samoa Joe, the Authors of Pain, the Undisputed Era, Aleister Black and Ricochet. Never would have remembered that one if I hadn't looked it up. The Broserweights, Pete Dunne and Matt Riddle, which, by the way, were one of the best. One of the best was Pete Dunne and Matt Riddle. Yeah. MSK was another good one because it involved Matt Riddle after they won, which was fun. But that one turned out bad. Dakota Kai and Raquel Rodriguez, one of two female Dusty Tag Team Classic winners. And they, I believe, they were given the NXT Women's Tag Team Championships as a recurrence to this because they had a shot at the actual NXT Women's Tag Team Championships, and Adam Pearce screwed them. And so Regal was just like, here's belts.
Yeah. And another thing to add to the Baron and Bron dynamic too, even from the beginning backstage when they're fighting to see who walks out first too. Like even from the beginning, just seeing that part, I was like, I'm gonna end up liking them together, aren't I? From that moment, I knew it.
Yeah, it's interesting. Oh wow, I'm sorry, I just got sidetracked. I was looking at the 2015 tournament bracket. I just want to run this by you because this is hysterical names that we're going to go back to, and this is Barry Monkey, the Broserweights. Yes, Pete Dunne and Matt Riddle were a tag team in the Dusty Classic because reasons, and then they won, and it was all just so that Pete Dunne could go, a lot as Matt Riddle made stupid jokes. It was very funny. I really enjoyed it. But going back, here's a who's who of who the fuck are these people. All right. Dusty Road Tag Team Classic 2015, the original one. Enzo Amore and Big Cass defeated Angelo Dawkins and Sawyer Fulton.
Oh, I know Fulton, yeah.
Finn Balor and Samoa Joe defeated the Lucha Dragons of Kalisto and Sin Cara. Blake and Murphy, without a name, just Blake and Murphy at this time, defeated the Vaudevillains of Aiden English and Simon Gotch. Elias Sampson and Tucker Knight defeated the Revival. Got defeated by the Revival. The Hype Bros of Zack Ryder and Mojo Rawley defeated Alexander Wolf and Noah Kaká.
That one I don't know, the last one.
We do know who he is. They just haven't.
I know, but I don't know the name.
Kona Reeves.
Oh.
He was the finest. I love Kona Reeves. He was one of my favorites of early NXT. I can't wait to talk about him when we do Talking Takeover. American Alpha of Jason Jordan and Chad Gable. I miss Jason. Neville and Solomon Crow. Solomon Crow just popped up in MLW as Sami Callihan.
Yeah, the hacker.
Baron Corbin and Rhino defeated the Ascension of Connor and Victor.
Oh my god, I love the Ascension. They were so freaking nice when I met them before. When I told them my name, they told me my name was pretty.
Aww. And then DIY of Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano defeated Tyler Breeze and Bull Dempsey.
Dang. Random generator. No hate for Sammy.
That's for Sammy.
No.
Here's the thing. I love Sammy. I think Sammy's great. I think he's ultra talented. I think he is a massive upgrade for the MLW roster because he's a better version of Raven. He's Raven that people actually give a shit about and can, have a wrestling match as opposed to walking around the ring very slowly. Like, Raven makes Von Wagner look like a Hall of Fame wrestler.
It is.
Bobby just says good. Me and Bobby will have to talk about this at a later time on probably an episode of Point of View. But anyways, getting on. The Dusty Classic is going to be fun, and Baron Corbin and Braun Breaker are into the next round. I'll do it.
Sure.
Done.
Sure.
Done. I don't have any authority to do this, and neither do you, but I'll do it. I don't think Sammy will ever come. I don't think Sammy will ever come back to NXT after his first run here.
No.
He was not a very happy camper. Barry says, I'm really happy to see a Sammy in MLW, as he's not in TNA. My opinion is similar to Bobby's. Like, I don't get you guys, Mike. I'll take Sami Callihan. I think Callahan's great.
Nope.
However, after this, we get our first segment of Tiffany at the Ranch. Astrid, what did you think when you saw Tiffany show up at the ranch?
Her outfit was it made me laugh. I knew how it was going to go. I was just trying to see how visually what she would wear. And she had to wear everything like that. Pink cowboy hat, the little skirt, the barely top, and the boots. I was like, I love how Pally goes, I actually had an outfit for you. And she's like, ew. It just reminded me of Mean Girls a little bit, but no, she did very well with it. Like they both did very well with all of the segments, not just this one, but all of them together. It was super funny just watching Tiffany suffer the way she did, especially at the end.
Yeah, I thought Tiffany did a fantastic job in all of these segments. We're going to cover them as they go. I love the fact that she's looking fantastic in her entrance gear, not her ring gear, because she has the ring gear underneath. She has a little bra type thing that's part of her ring gear, and she has like the boa type, It's a jacket, but it's not really a jacket. It's more just like a boa that pretends to be a jacket with the pink cowboy hat with the rhinestones, and the high heels just make the whole thing because she's working at a ranch and she's in high heels. She complains about walking on the floor in her high heels. She's repulsed by the smell. And Fallon tells her she's got a long day ahead of her. She's going to be mucking out stalls. And Tiffany's like, what does mucking mean? And cleaning. Picking. And oh, by the way, pick up the horse shit when the horse is shit. And I'm just like, oh, poor Tiffany.
Yes.
Oh, poor Tiffany. Speaking of poor my ears and my eyes, I then had to see Lola Vice come out as Lyra cut a promo talking about how she was going to start and end the year as women's champion. And I'm like, well, you know what? I like you better than who you're feuding with, so that's fine. I'll deal with it for now. Mm-hmm. Lyra has been put on the back burner of my people that I don't want to see on television. Why? Because she cut a decent promo here. Like, there's a point in this promo where she's going at Lola Vice and Elektra Lopez, and she sounds like she can cut an actual good promo.
Yeah.
Like, she's picking at Lola Vice while she's pumping up Elektra Lopez just to try to pit them against each other. It was fantastic. I love it. Mm-hmm. Lola Vice, on the other hand, oh, boy. Oh, Lola. One, the voice doesn't match the body. Like, whenever she talks, I feel like it's somebody else talking. Because the two don't look like they go together, which is fine. Like, people don't have to have the same voice that you would expect for their body shape. Me excluded. You know, like, look at me. I don't have the same voice that you would expect from a big burly guy like me. However, that was the nicest thing I could say about her promo, because the rest of it just like there's nothing redeeming about this promo from her. Not one bit of it.
No, nothing.
In my notes, I literally have she comes out and talks vague trash because I couldn't be compelled to write down any of the things she actually said. Because I was more important about writing down the things that Lyra said. When Lyra goes, you know, she calls herself Latina Heat. She's going to bring the Latina Heat at one point. And Lyra just, without missing a beat, goes, you? Latina Heat? No. All you do is shake your ass on Instagram and make all the boys drool. Well, the Latina Heat, the only one I see with Latina Heat in this ring is Elektra. She's like, La Madrina, the woman who kept the Legado del Fantasma, you know, held together. And I'm like, that's great. She's tying together storylines from SmackDown. She's tying some things with the LWO who are still here. She's doing all kinds of good work. Like, she was doing yeoman's work, trying to make this all go together. So kudos to Lyra. She's my star of the week because she tried her damnedest to make this shit work.
Yes. I think my favorite part is about the contract too, because we have mentioned it like here and there through the weeks as it's been happening. Every time that we get Elektra mentioning the when she gets interviewed, she talks about the contract. She goes, "Yeah, I'm going for the championship," and Elektra's like, "Yeah, the tag team championship, though. The tag team. Don't forget about me next to you." And to be able to hear Lyra go, when are you gonna bring it down to her though that you're going for, you know, the singles title, not for the tag team one? It's like, oops, did I mean to say that? Yes, I did. Kind of thing. It's just so funny to like see that and see somebody else talk about it, because it's something that's been unmentioned between them. It's the matter of like you're going, don't forget about me, I'm right here. And then, you know, it's the first time that somebody else points it out to her the way she did. And I love how, like you said, like the way she mentioned, like the Latina Heat. I only see that radiating from Elektra over here, not from you, honey. And the way like she talked about Legado, and was like, that makes me think about, you know, her going to the main roster, going with Legado against Zelina there. So I enjoyed every bit of this from Lyra's end. Yeah, Lola, I feel bad. It's like, why does she have to win? I would have preferred Kalani at this point, really.
Yeah, no, at this point, I was all for Lola winning at first. I really wish Kalani would have won this thing. I mean, God, I could never have imagined this girl being this much of a train wreck.
No, and I like how even like she pointed it out to her. Like,
I'm not even talking about her in ring. Like her in ring,
no.
It's not great, but it's getting better. She's getting better. She's improving in ring. But my God, they've got to get this woman in promo class.
But even she mentioned that she's like, I don't want to face the girl that's shaking her ass on Instagram. I want to face that MMA fighter that I know you have a background in. And I was like, she doesn't
Yeah.
even feel that way anymore.
Yeah, no, like they've taken all the specialty away from Lola Vice and made her feel so unimportant. Like to the point where the brawl breaks out and Tatum Paxley comes in and makes the save, and I'm like, yay, Tatum! Like I want to see more Tatum. Like I've fantasy booked in my own head that Tatum steals the contract and challenges Lyra to this match with the contract that doesn't even belong to her. Just because it would be more interesting than having to watch Lola Vice have a match with Lyra.
I was about to say the same thing. It sounds a lot more interesting than what we have happening right now. I feel bad because I feel like what we see with Oba Famitsu is what I would have liked to see similarly to Lola. Not exactly the same, obviously, but something similar to that aspect of like she wins the contract. We see her having matches here and there, whether they're singles or tag team. She keeps winning, getting that momentum, making her feel like a threat to Lyra when she cashes in. I wanted to see that. And then she comes in tonight to like face Lyra in this promo. I don't believe anything that's coming out of your mouth right now. Like I see you cashing in and literally losing in like 5 seconds. And I'll be fine with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, we got my man Crispy dropping a hello. Hello, Mr. Crispy. I hope you are doing well. Yeah, no, and I feel bad because NXT's done such a good job with the women's division. And here they are giving them time. Like this promo, it wasn't quick. This promo was what, 5-6 minutes long? It took a while. But they gave them time. They're building a story. It's not the greatest story. There's lots of other ways you could have gone, but they're trying. Give them an A for effort. They're trying to get this Lola Vice thing over. They're trying to make this work. So at least they're making an attempt. Hey, their women's division is still on television. Think about it. 3 segments with Fallon and Tiffany tonight. All of that technically counts as women's division segments because it's all revolving around the storyline between Fallon and Tiffany. Which, by the way, I don't think that's over. I think there's another match coming for the two of them. Speaking of other matches to come, Metaphor are very excited, which made me very sad. Metaphor here talking about the breakup and taking credit for the breakup of JBBJ. To which I don't understand why they thought they did. Like, I understand that they broke up after Briggs lost. But I don't understand how they think that the loss was the catalyst to go ahead and, like, it... Oh, God, I hate Metaphor. Sure. Briggs come in, tells them they're all wrong, and wants another match for the Heritage Cup. Noam says, no, back of the line for you because you got disqualified because you would have beat me. And Briggs is like, no, I'll just take out this douchebag here who's just riding your coattails. What do you call him? Captain Sidekick, I think it was, or something like that. I
think so. Mm-hmm.
He made fun of Oro Mensah. Oro didn't like it, and we had a match for tonight. And I'm like, do we have to?
I was like, do I have to watch this?
I sadly had to watch it, so you have to watch it. Backstage, assistant Ava is hard at work as Luca, our man Luca, is trying to get his loss overturned, considering his foot was underneath the ropes, which is very true. You can see from the angle that his foot was under the ropes. However, assistant Ava goes, look, I may be the assistant to the general manager. However, I am not a referee, so the referee's decision is still final. But I'll talk to Sean and let him know that you're upset about this to see what we can do about it. And Luca seems to be appeased by this solution, and he walks away. And he'd watch Dragon Lee. I've never seen visa issues get settled so fast. WWE's lawyers are very good.
Yep.
He wants to go ahead and defend his championship tonight, and Lexis King walks in, and I'm like, oh. But you know what? At least his beard has grown in a bit more, so it's like straight now, as opposed to like the fucking Batman weird symbol he had shaved in there a couple weeks ago. Lexis King has a contract already done with a big star on it for Lexis, for the Lexis King star, I guess is what. I don't know. I thought it'd be a crown. Like, I really thought a crown would be a good idea as he's the king, but they used a star. But anyways, he opens it, and it's a contract for the North American Championship match, and Dragon Lee happily accepts because he's up for open challenges, and we have a apparently our main event set. Seems weird to not have your main event set before the show, but all right,
Sure.
we'll go for it, NXT. Any thoughts on all of these wonderful people backstage with assistant Ava?
No, my favorite part is like when he's like, "Can't wait to show you a clown face," and he's like, oh, "What did he say?" And then he said the C word. I'm not gonna say it because it's still a curse word from at least where I come from.
Bron.
Yeah. And then he's like, what did he say? No, nothing, nothing. I really don't know how to say it. It was
She
so funny
says
when Ava.
you don't want to
Yeah,
know.
that was too funny. But no, I like the interaction here between Dragon Lee. I had a feeling he was gonna come back like sooner than we thought, and yeah, it worked out at the end here anyway. But yeah, I just thought it was funny that I thought at the beginning of the segment that maybe that contract would say something different because Dragon Lee didn't read it; he just signed it. So I was expecting Lexis to come out and say, "Oh, you didn't read it. This is what happened if you actually read the contract," kind of thing. So I thought that was gonna happen later on when the main event started. That was my thought process at first. But yeah, I was like, Luca, you have a right to fight for this. You got this. And then yeah, but overall it was a fun segment.
Although I did feel bad for Luke, as I showed Astrid off the air. Over the weekend they had the house show, the Florida Loop. And this week on the Florida Loop, Luke was unfortunately taking on Carmelo Hayes. Not good for Luke. I mean, good that he's working with the former A champion, but bad that he's having to take L's to Mello in 2 back-to-back nights on the Florida Loop. No, I thought about the contract too, but I stopped it. I paused it. You can literally read it. Like, it's big and bold, and it's strictly, it just says North American Championship Open Challenge. And it has Lexis King and Dragon Lee. It has both their names. Yeah. Like, there's some fine print in the middle, but like, it was the basics of like where you would have like what match type it is or some silly match. Nope. It was all just basic standard stuff. Speaking of basic standard stuff, Josh Briggs dominates Oro Mensah for the majority of this match. The only time it feels like Oro Mensah gets any involvement into this match is when Metaphor interferes. And unfortunately for him, the second time they interfere, it doesn't work, and he gets his head taken off by a clothesline from hell. My favorite part of this entire match has nothing to do with the match. It has to do with commentary, because of course it does. Josh Briggs come out wearing jeans. No shirt, but just his big jeans with his cowboy boot style wrestling boots and, you know, whatnot. And Booker goes, "It's nice to see him come out here not look like a hillbilly." To which I said, Booker, he's wearing jeans and cowboy boots to the ring. What part of this isn't hillbilly? Why? Because he doesn't have the stupid shirt on that makes it that he's not hillbilly?
Yep, it's the flannel.
Oh, wait. Vic gets my comment of the night later on. Don't you worry. But no, I sure, Josh wins. The push of Briggs continues, which makes me happy. But otherwise,
this felt like LOL, Josh wins.
it was a showcase match for Josh Briggs. That's all it was.
Mm-hmm. I like when he pins Oro, though. He starts looking at Noam Darkness. Noam starts crawling inside the ring to try to help Oro, and he just stares at him like, "You're next."
So Vengeance Day, we get the Heritage Cup rematch, I'm assuming, correct? You think?
Yeah.
Well, we've had a couple bad segments in a row. Let's have a good one. Tiffany Stratton back on the farm. And this time, she's just finished doing her first task of the day, which they didn't really tell us what it was. They didn't show it to us. But her second task of the day is washing Buttercup. Because Buttercup did something again. Fallon's people are very vague, and I don't like it. Because, like, if I'm running a business, I don't want vague answers to what's going on. Like, if Fallon's in charge, she should be getting direct, knowledge. Hey, the horse did this, this, and this. We need to clean the horse up. No, we don't get the horse did that thing again. What thing? What needs to happen? And she says, "You're up, Buttercup." And Tiffany's like, "Don't call me Buttercup." She's like, "I wasn't. I was talking to the horse." And after Tiffany gets finished washing the horse, she looks like this. I don't know where all the dirt came from that's on her body, because it wouldn't have come from the horse. Because the horse looks the same. Like, you could see the white horse behind her. This horse didn't look that much different throughout the entire segment. But here you get a good idea of what Tiffany was wearing, and unsure why this was the outfit she chose for the day. But she did. It's fun. I've enjoyed these two segments so far. They play off each other so well. To which people are like, I want them to team. And I'm like, I don't. But at the same time, if you do, I don't hate it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't want them to stop being together. Like, I think that's fun.
We'll see. I mean, they haven't said anything about the Women's Dusty Classic.
They haven't yet. We don't even know if we're getting a Women's Dusty Classic this year.
Yeah.
Cody did promise us a Men's Dusty Classic. He did not, however, promise us another Women's Dusty Classic. We also get the D'Angelos taking on OTM here. This was a fun match. I enjoyed this. This was all right. I thought this was going to be the main event of the evening. They have no chemistry. Like, the teams are fine. The teams work well together. But, like, nothing felt right. What did you think?
I think the only time I really caught my attention was at one point they kind of splatted Stacks on the outside before one of the commercial breaks, and that's the only part that I was like, oh, that looks nice. Other than that, I feel like it was more like D'Angelo and Stacks showing off as a team, because it felt like they were a team and they looked like a team. And then we had Scripps coming in. He wants to get in there and help them out. But instead of helping them, well, he tries to help them, and then Adriana just pushes him, so it doesn't help them at the end. And Tony and Stacks still retain. And I don't know if you want to discuss it now, but I figured we have later on what they're outside walking out. They see Jada Parker sitting by the car. She's like, have you figured out, the problem that you have with Riz? And they look at each other like, nope. And she's like, that's your problem. You got to figure out somebody that go against Adriana. And that's why I'm here. So it's nice to see her getting some kind of direction, see how she grows with them as well. So I think that'll be interesting moving forward to see too.
Yeah, I'm very excited for the idea of bringing in Jada Parker. While I wasn't sold on Jada Parker's in-ring talent during the oh, hello, Papa Smokes. Thank you for joining us. We greatly appreciate it. Like I didn't hate the match. I think OTM is getting better. Even that one spot that you're talking about, that great spot that they did on the side, the timing was off. Stacks hit the ground before Lucien ever touched him, which was a problem for me. Like, it's a cool spot, but they didn't execute it perfectly, which again goes back to the timing. Stacks' timing was, granted, Stack was being thrown, but Stacks' timing was still off. Barry says it was awful. The other tag matches were miles better. I agree. The other tag team matches on this show were better. But then again, one of the tag team matches on this show involved Baron Corbin, main roster star. Bron Breakker, future main roster star. Like him or hate him, Bron Breakker is going to be big on the main roster. He's going to have big matches. He's going to do big things. He's talented in the ring, if nothing else. He might be boring, but he's talented. And then Gallus. While Mark is their biggest fan, absolutely rightfully so, that you have to have, Gallus being one of your big things. They're talented in the ring. They're one of the best tag teams in the UK scene in NXT UK for a reason. They've come over here and had good matches with pretty much everybody. So that match was going to be good no matter what happened. It may have been a little boring and a little bit but it was still a good, well-wrestled match. Whereas here, Tony D'Angelo feels like such a wasted talent right now. As a tag team champion, I feel like he's at his lowest point that he's ever been. This guy was, when he came onto the scene, I looked and goes, that's stupid. He's not going to be anything. And I ate a lot of crow on our old show for this because I learned to love Tony, and the character was fantastic. I see zero character work from Tony D'Angelo right now. None. They got rid of Two Dimes. He's wrestling in AEW. Stacks they've promoted and making him a big deal, but at the same time, they don't feel like the mob boss family they used to.
Yeah.
And when the most mob-like thing your group does is have a lady enforcer who's trying to help the boys, I think you've come to the end of the road with these boys as a tag team. And it's time for Tony to get back to winning singles titles. Because he needs to get the hell out of this tag division before it ruins his career.
Plus, if you think about it visually, like when we had the moments with like them versus Legato, he looked great because you feel like him and he had a posse behind him, basically. Not him and the partner who are looking as equals right now. But I think it's better if you look like a leader, like the boss man, and then all of a sudden you have a bunch of people behind you that are actually helping you out. It's like the most we've seen them from like being a boss man kind of thing is like they were collecting money from people because of Adriana not too long ago. That's the only thing that felt like kind of like mafia, like if you want to put it that way. But it's just a point that I feel like they kind of lost track of what his character was, and at this point it's just like, what do you do with him and Stacks as champions? Like I feel like it's better when they're chasing people, because I think like they could kidnap somebody, they could pretend they're killing somebody, things like that. Like they could make it fun on the way for them to chase a championship. But now that they're champions, it just, you can't do anything in that aspect either.
The most fun mob-like thing that they've done recently is when Joe Gacy got out of the trunk last week and might have killed a dude that was in the trunk already. Like, I still want to know whether or not Joe Gacy killed the dude, because he got out of the trunk and they're like, hey, there was a guy. Yeah, I took care of it. What did you do? Did you set him free? Did you kill him? Did you throw? Like, what did you do, Joe? Like, that, and the fact that he's the more interesting part of all that, not them, when that's their gimmick and not his, is a problem. Like I said, we like to focus on the good things that are going on in NXT. We really do. However, I'm not going to sit here and say everything's rosy when things smell like shit. And right now, Tony D'Angelo's character smells like shit because they're not doing anything with him. And they are, like, they're doing things with him, but I don't feel like it's meaningful. I don't think like it's helping him. Like, he's a 2-time NXT Tag Team Champion. And I'm like, I'd rather him be a 1-time North American champion and be stuck in the mid-card there. Because at least there, I think he'd be doing things like with the gimmick and the character that made him interesting in the first place. Very much. I'm really liking the new Joe Gacy. I missed him this week. He was on Twitter talking about how when they posted the renders for Hank and Tank, they both looked like Joe Gacy. And he posted it. I thought it was Joe Gacy. I thought Hank Walker was tag teaming with Joe Gacy in this tournament at one point when I saw the graphic earlier.
I thought it was him, but I didn't know who his partner was, so I just zoomed in on the picture, and that's when I realized I went, oh, I see what you did there. But at least it was funny on Twitter.
We get an NXT Anonymous segment with Chase U female students all surrounded, including apparently the person who I keep going, who? I believe her name is Maddie Rankowski, I believe is the name she was using on the Indies. She was there with JC Jane and Thea Hale, as JC Jane was talking about how the student body's been trying to raise money to save Chase U, and they need to stop doing whatever they're doing because it's not working. However, JC has a foolproof plan, and she takes out her phone and she starts pointing and she goes, this is you, and this is you. And I'm like, is JC going to start pimping out the female students of JC University? Like, it's not what I should be thinking, and I know it's stupid, and it's 90% mockery. But the fact that they hid the phone and they're pointing to it and they're not telling us what's going on, and the entire segment is 4 females in the segment with JC and Thea, I wouldn't put it past them to potentially, like, what do you think it is? What is JC's money-making idea?
I don't know. I really kept trying to think of like what could be like like she's assigning roles to everybody as she hasn't pointing them to like her notes, but I really couldn't think of what it could be. I feel like it would be kind of weird to do some kind of like OnlyFans type of thing. Oh no, very. Um, I don't know. I feel kind of weird at the same time, but at the end, like I do want to say congratulations to Maddie if she is there because she got signed, former NWA Women's Tag Team Champion. So it's pretty nice to see her there. But yeah, it just like I saw her there. I'm like, oh no, I'm afraid this is what they put her in. But we'll see how that goes.
I mean, Chase used good stuff. I mean, it's fine to have her there. I've not seen her work. I've heard good things from Astrid. I'm excited to see what she can do. If she is signed, she might just be an extra. Let's remember, Chase U student bodies are typically just extras until they're signed to developmental deals. Rumor has it she's been signed to a developmental deal. However, we have not gotten the official class picture that we typically get when they sign a bunch of talent. I agree. It could be personal training. Like I said, my idea is 90% joke because it's funny to say. It's not really going to happen that they're going to be pimping them out. But at the same time, it's college girls. And like, that's the first joke that you make is that how many college girls do shady things in that kind of an industry to make money to get through school? Like, it's the type of thing that also, we're talking about lots of money. Andre Chase not told us how much money, but it needs to be lots of money. And JC was pretty assured that this was going to cover everything.
Mm-hmm.
So college girls making lots of money. There are only a few ways to do that. Again, I feel bad being the guy coming out and saying this. But like I said, 90% joke, 10%, I mean, they could. It could happen. It won't, but it could.
I don't know.
Astrid's not mad at me, so I'm assuming I'm okay here.
I mean, I know where you're coming from. It's just like the way it is with the women's division with Shawn Michaels involved. I don't see something like that at the same time. That's why I know what you mean when it's 90% joke, but I can't think of what it could be that they could be like, yeah, this is gonna get us exactly what we need if we all kind of pitch in from for everybody pitches in their contributes their part. I don't know. We'll see.
Like I said, I sometimes worry that I cross the boundaries between being appropriate and being inappropriate when I make some of these jokes, but at the same time, it's like I think it's funny. Anyway, speaking of things that were funny, Obafemi is having an interview and he's killing it there, man. They're talking about it, and he's talking about the destiny. This is all part of going back to the digital exclusive, and if you haven't seen it, you should. It was great. But he talks about before he went to the finale, he went back to Nigeria and he talked to a fortune teller. Because in some of these other parts of the world, not in the US, but a lot of these other parts of the world, it's not considered taboo. It's not considered different to be going to fortune tellers. They are widely considered. Hell, in some countries, they are part of the governing body. There are places in the world where fortune tellers were part of. Hell, there are European countries where fortune tellers and seers were considered to be part of the royal court to give the king advice on what to do and not to do. And he talks about how before he won this, she could see contracts and championships and tournament wins in his future. And he won, and he won. And he's like, and now I have destiny behind me. And I like the idea that Obafemi has this destiny feel. That feels good. It sounds interesting. I get the idea. It gives him a character and a reason for us to look at him and go, okay, destiny's got you. That makes sense. And then
I think about it. Oh, sorry. I was to say, plus, like, if you think about it this way, it kind of gives a little bit more of a highlight into his culture too, which is nice to see because it's like they're not making fun of him for having that destiny or like what he was told or anything like that. Like they're actually believing, and he believes it as well. So it's nice to see like that gets highlighted too.
Yeah, it's authenticity. It feels like this character's coming a little bit from him, a little bit from his culture. They're bringing his Nigerian heritage into it. Or they're bringing the Nigerian heritage into it. Whether or not it's his or not, I don't actually know. Barry Monkey says, why do fortune tellers want money? Because they've got crystal balls. I like that one. That's not bad. I'll take it. Anyways, Lexis King interrupts, and he's like, I like you, Oba. You got destiny behind you. You got that contract. If things hadn't worked out and that idiot hadn't gotten involved, it'd have been me and you in the finals, and it might have gone differently. But you've got your contract, and I've got mine, and I'm going to win the North American title, and you're going to be able to go on, and I can see you being the future world champion. Lexis King sucking up as best he can. And Oba he walks away, and Oba just looks at him. And like I said, he looked at Kelly, and he's like, main event, huh? All right. Mm-hmm. Noted. I loved it. I thought it was great. It's a fun little segment.
Yeah.
We get Gallus backstage. They're pissed off. They're angry that they lost. But Joe Coffey says they have to focus on something else now because they're out of the tournament and nothing they can do about it. They just got beat. Nothing they can do. And Joe Coffey spots Ridge Holland. And they have a back and forth. And apparently Joe Coffey is not scared of Ridge. And Ridge isn't scared of Joe Coffey. And he says, you should have stayed a brawling brute. And as soon as he says that, both the other members of Gallus come walking up behind him. And I'm like, well, we have Ridge's next program. Joe's going to lose.
Well,
I
prefer Ridge winning, to be honest.
I do too. Anything to make Joe Coffey lose is fine. But by the way, why was Joe Coffey wearing that god-awful jacket? So I get that there was rain and there was storms in Florida today. I get it. Tornado watch was out there. Ash wasn't sure she was going to be able to do the show. I get it all. But he's indoors now. He's indoors now. He doesn't have to wear the raincoat inside. The WWE Performance Center is a well-built building. It's okay. No, it's not fashion. Tiffany Stratton doing farm work in a bikini in skirt is fashion. Joe Coffey wearing a stupid raincoat is just dumb.
Yeah, he's trying to cover himself up. At least he's alive and well.
We then get checks notes. The only other women's match of the night: Cora Jade taking on Gigi Dolin. Astrid?
I knew from the beginning because of the way it's happening that Cora was going to win it. I did like having Gigi coming in from the get-go, fired up. She has her, her moments. And then, obviously, once Cora turns around, she's in control the whole match. Obviously, wins it. But it just, I keep thinking, when are we going to involve her in the championship match? Because right now, it just feels like she's winning, different, random singles matches. And it almost feels like for no reason. Because we already have Lyra, and then Lyra with Tatum, Lyra with Lola, and then Lyra with Blair. But they still haven't given us a hint of her. I know she kind of mentioned it once, but I just feels like they don't have a direction for her at the same time, because I would like to have her in some kind of feud that's solid. Kind of like a Tiffany and Fallon going on right now. Even though there's no title involved, you can see them they have something going on a weekly basis. They either have matches or they have backstage segments, or even tonight with the ranch. But with Cora, it just seems like picking on people backstage in the locker room and going against them on a weekly basis. And I'm just okay, when are we gonna get something more permanent work, with her, with somebody against her? And that's the only thing that I'm missing right now with her.
Already posed it out right. The best thing about this match is it was short. It's fine. They had a fine wrestling match. They did some stuff. It was all right. I don't want to drag on it because there's nothing bad about the match, but it didn't catch me as interesting. I don't think it's a valuable use of Cora Jade's time. She's just come back. I feel like there's unfinished business with Roxanne Perez. They still haven't really addressed. There's unfinished business with Lyra Valkyria that they've told us we're going to get addressed, and I assume that has to be the stand and deliver match. It would only make sense that that's stand and deliver, right? Cora Jade versus Lyra Valkyria.
Unless she wins the Battle Royal next week.
But I think either way, I think no matter what happens, I still think it ends up at stand and deliver. I still think that's the match. Even if Cora wins the Battle Royal, and has the first match at Vengeance Day, I still think that they take this all the way to Stand and Deliver.
Yeah.
I just feel like there's more better things, and I know that that's poor English, but there's just like, you've got to be able to do something better with Cora Jade than this. And again, no offense to Gigi Dolin, but the worst thing they did was split up Toxic Attraction. Toxic Attraction should have gone as a unit to the main roster.
Mm-hmm.
With or without Mandy, they should have stayed a unit. They were perfectly fine to continue doing the Toxic Attraction thing without Mandy Rose. Mm-hmm. I think you could have very easily slid Carmella into that group, and it would have been fine. I think you could have easily slid Sonya Deville into that group, and it would have been fine. Right now, I think you can perfectly slide, what's her name? Chelsea Green into this group, and it'd be fine if they were still going. And more importantly, it would give you a competent, well-formed tag team that's had great matches as a tag team in your women's tag team division. Because you know what you don't have? None of them. Like, they flashed up the tag teams that are potentially going to be taking on KC Squared on Raw the other night. And they were The Way, which is fine. Indy and Candice are a fine tag team. Tegan and Natty, no. Please no. No more of that. Please no. And then I honestly don't even remember the other team that was sitting in the corner. But there was another team on the TV screen. And none of them, by the way, are the Unholy Union, who are still somewhere after Halloween Havoc.
And that one upset me because to me, it would have been better if you would have kept Toxic Attraction. You would have put them against Damage Control in SmackDown. The Unholy Union would have been great in either brand. And keep going with that storyline about the titles being cursed, because they mentioned it and then flip, nothing happened afterwards. And just like, okay, what, they're cursed. Why did you curse him? Are you going to chase them so they're not cursed anymore or something? But nothing there either. And I just at this point, I feel bad. Like, what was the point of calling them up? I would have rather kept them as a team with the tag team championship that we had in NXT. That was going fine, by the way. But yeah, it's just that. Yeah, I think I remember. I think it was Stephanie Hardy, if I'm not mistaken. She did write an article from Daily DDT about how the girls being a tag team like that, and it just keeps reminding me like how great it would have been for them together on the main roster, especially with all these women's tag teams. Like, that would have been a great time to have them in there and the Holy Union, but nothing. I'm just disappointed at this point, but like with the breakup and the calling them up.
And it's weird because I could have sworn that Gigi Dolin was going to be the stronger of the two. I still think she's stronger in a promo. I still think she's the stronger wrestler. I still think Gigi has all the things needed to be a bigger star. And at every point, JC Jane is turning out to be the star. They've put JC Jane with Thea Hale. She's made Thea more important. She's made Andre Chase more important. She's made this Chase U story so much more interesting. There are so many ways they can go with everything they've done with JC Jane. She's having good wrestling matches. She's formed a tag team. And honestly, as dumb as it felt to put them together in the beginning, they feel like an honest, cohesive tag team right now between her and Thea Hale. Like, she's actually done good things for the Thea Hale character, let alone for the in-ring ability and making Thea look better in the ring. She's made Thea feel like a better character. And that's the one thing that Thea never really lacked, was character. And she's used the ability and the charisma that JC Jane has to mold her character to be able to change it slightly without making it seem like a directional shift. And don't get me wrong, they've entirely 180'd the character that is Thea Hale. She is no longer the hyper crazy cocaine superstar that I used to see on my television screen. And she's now a well-rounded, like, student character who has depth to her character. And it's just interesting what they've done. And you have more tag teams that feel like tag teams in NXT for the female division. As Barry Monkey says, it was stupid to get rid of the NXT women's tag team titles. I wholeheartedly agree. I saw no reason why they had to be combined, because you still had tag teams on the NXT roster. Hell, I don't want to see them, but Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson are a tag team. They're honestly the best way to put the two of them in any match is to put them together as a tag team, because they're much, much better as that than they are at anything else. Mostly because Jakara can pick up the slack for Lash. But you have all these other women's talent, like Kiana and Izzy would make perfect sense in a tag team division. Lola and Elektra make perfect sense in a tag team division. You could put some of these other people into tag teams and make them feel like they fit. But you just kind of threw it away. Like I said, there wasn't a lot of great things on the show until the very end, and all the Tiffany Stratton stuff. Everything else kind of felt lackluster, including Nathan and Axiom taking on Hank Tank. It was fine, but again, babyface versus babyface felt a little weird.
Yeah. Not only that, but I think it was funny because when the match started, I kept thinking, first we have Bron and Baron, two singles guys win the match for the tag team tournament, and then I kept thinking, does that mean Axiom and Nathan are gonna win this one? The two singles guys are gonna form a tag team and win this one. Sure, they're gonna win over the established tag team. That part, like, just taking that part out of the match, I was like, whoa, that's not great for a tag team classic tournament. But at the end, I did like how at first we get Hank and Tank being in charge, and you can see them like taking control of the match. But once they tag in Nathan, it's all over for both of them, and I felt so bad. But I did love the entrance between Axiom and Nathan. Chef's kiss. That was my favorite part.
Was I wrong, or did I misunderstand this? Was Booker T at one point trying to figure out if Hank and Tank had cutoff shorts?
And that doesn't surprise me if you say that.
All right. Barry's right here. This is the best I've seen Hank Tank. I agree. But then again, they're in there with Axiom and they're in there with Nathan Frazer. These guys can make anybody look good. They're very good, competent tag team wrestlers. Like, yes, they're not a tag team. And here's something I want to discuss, because you brought it up, and I think it's interesting, and because there isn't much more interesting on this show. The idea of the single stars defeating the tag teams. I got it a little bit more with Baron Corbin and Bron, because they're both world championship caliber tag team wrestlers. Baron Corbin's wrestled as a tag team champion before. Braun Breaker, not so much. And while, yes, I feel like they shouldn't have won, I feel like it makes more sense for them to win.
Yeah.
And Nathan and Axiom have a much easier road to that by being able to face a team like Hank Tank, who are young, inexperienced, really haven't got it together. So it makes more sense that they win. I would have much preferred that Anofe and Blade were the ones that went down to Baron and Braun. I think that would have made that feel a lot better, because, again, you can say that they're inexperienced. You can say that they're not quite at the level, that these other guys are just so much better that even though they're tagging and that makes it harder, that it gives them a reason why these guys would win. Especially since you're going to waste it next week with Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams, because even on the, by the way, we'll get to, it's just, we're going to get to it now, and we'll go back to the finals with Tiffany. Anofe and Blade are backstage, and they're talking about the match with Trick Williams, and they're like, oh, but these guys can't even get along, and they've been the story of the whole year. They're not even on the same page, but at least we're reading the same book. And I'm like, you fucking retards. Do you not know how stupid that sounds? I'd rather be on different pages than be in the same book. Like, oh my God. And then Brinley Reese, I believe is who this is. We've seen her like once, and then she disappeared. I think she got hurt.
She was so random during this.
she comes walking in and she's like, all right, guys, we're going to work out. We're going to work out. And like, No-Face like, all right, she's a pretty girl. I'm going to like pretend like to do something. But like, she's trying to get them to work out. And she's like, come on, we got to get you like 6-pack abs. And they're like, Brindley. And then like, they pull apart their shirts to reveal they have 6-packs. And she's like, oh, okay, well, if you ever need anything, let me know. And I'm like, oh God, I've just realized what they're going to do to this poor girl. Do you remember Simon Dean? Do you remember Riddick Moss in the Riddick Regiment? That's what's going to happen to this poor girl. She's going to be the female Simon Dean and Riddick Moss.
No.
Yep. She's going to be doing a workout training program at the NXT. And that's what, yes, the Simon Dean, the Simon system. Those are both the Riddick Regiment. The Riddick Moss got called back up to the main roster. This is what they're going to do to this poor girl. That's what they're planning for this. Based on this one segment and this one segment alone, that's what I think they're planning on doing for
her.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
No, I don't like it either. Speaking of things I did like, we get the final segment of Tiffany Stratton where she's psyching herself up as she's mucking out the stall and she's getting it cleaned up. And even everybody else is impressed. They're talking about how good of a job she's doing, talking about how she's probably filled that wheelbarrow a bit too much because she's going to have to move it and it's going to take an awful lot of strength to go ahead and move that. And Fallon's like, you know what? Like, she's fitting in. Like, she's doing a good job. Like, I'd hire her. And one of the girls was like, yeah, she could fit in. She could do this, I guess. And then she tries to, while she's been doing it so good for so long, all of a sudden, for some reason, she forgets how to do it. And because the camera's watching her now, and she goes ahead and does it wrong. And she's like, I give up. I'm done. And so she starts to walk out, and I've lost the photo of Tiffany being done. Oh well. But Tiffany's done. She's had it. She starts yelling at Fallon. Yes, there it is. That's the one. I don't know where that disappeared to because it's not on my screen anymore. Anyways, she starts talking about how she feels bad for Fallon Henley. She goes ahead and, that not only does Fallon do this for a living, Fallon enjoys doing this for a living. She thinks this is hell, and Fallon enjoys this, and now that's why she feels bad for her. She doesn't feel bad for her because she has to work. She's like, working is fine. You can do good work. This isn't good work. This is terrible. And then she tries to turn around or walk away or do something. As I saw her earlier, she ends up falling into a tub of water. I think it was a good idea for her to cover.
She stepped on the crab first, though, and then the water.
Oh, is that what happened? I
Mm-hmm.
I must have blocked it out. My poor Tiffany stepping on dog horse shit, but she ends up in the water. I like the fact that she covers herself up to take away any potential chance of her falling down in that thing and making sure that there's no wardrobe malfunctions. Again, it's recorded. They could have done whatever they needed to and cut to a shot of Fallon Henley here. But overall, I think this was a positive thing. I thought they did a really good job of having Tiffany here and doing the mucking out the stalls and everything else. What did you think?
This made me laugh so much. That's what I kept thinking, like from beginning to end. I enjoyed each one of the segments. Yeah, I was like, she was so in character. She did great as a character there. I kept thinking it reminds me of Mean Girls, with like, ew, like I can't believe I'm here, kind of thing. But I couldn't say anything. Like, she looked great doing this, which is ironic when you're actually full of dirt and getting wet and dirty. But yeah, I like it. It progresses there, everything going on between both of them. So I was like, I enjoyed every bit of it.
Yeah, I thought they did a really good job with this. I do just want to post something here. We're just gonna go ahead and share screen this one because it's gonna just be easier that way. How it started, how it ended, and you could even see.
Feels like she's having fun doing that.
I mean, I would imagine she's probably having a bit of fun doing that. Again, like I said, it's interesting to go ahead and, take a look at it. I thought they did a really, really good job with everything. when it comes to Tiffany Stratton this week. And then we got the main event. The main event was Dragon Lee was supposed to be Dragon Lee versus Lexis King. What did you think of Lexis King versus Dragon Lee before we talk about what's coming up next week?
I feel like they had a fun match, though. I really enjoyed it. It was like there's nothing out of the ordinary about it as in there, at least. But they had great chemistry. I enjoyed every part of it. But it was like that moment of like once you hear Obafemi's music, I just felt like again like a Money in the Bank cash, and I was like, shoot, I'm waiting for this moment to happen. But it still made it even more exciting than it was.
Yeah, I thought the match between Lexis and Dragon Lee was all right. It wasn't anything to write home about. It wasn't anything fancy. It was just a relatively good wrestling match. And then Obafemi comes out, and he's like, I'm going to cash in. And I'm like, all right, I'm waiting. I'm like, what's going to go wrong? He only got this damn thing like a week ago. He's not really going to cash in this week. Yeah. And then Dragon Lee, comes jumping out. Like, they announced that this is going to be the match. And Dragon Lee comes diving out of, which makes sense. Like, the babyface is like, look, this guy's a big fucking brick wall. I'm going to try to knock him down before it starts. Maybe I can get out of this. And Dragon Lee rolls him back in the ring. The bell rings, and I'm like, oh, God, they're really doing this. And then I was like, I think he's going to win then. Because if they weren't really doing this, I felt like, okay, maybe whatever. But I don't think you throw away Obafemi in 1 week if he's going to lose. I mean, like, if you're going to have somebody lose, you do what you're doing with Lola, where you draw it out for like 4 or 5 months, and then you have them lose. Yeah. And this is a fun little match because of the fact that Dragon Lee's already had a match. So you take that match psychology into it. Is it a great wrestling match overall? No, it takes 2 minutes. It's really not that great. But Dragon Lee has some creative offense to try to go ahead and try to get Oba down. Hell, he even gives him a bulldog, like a spinning DDT, puts him down, gets a 2 count. But Obafemi takes him and he just chucks him across the ring. And then Dragon Lee tries to do another big move. He tries to do a spinning leg thing with the head, like what a lot of the luchadors used to do, and he just catches him. And then he tries to go ahead and set him up for a slam or something. And Dragon Lee gets free and he tries to do a Frankensteiner. And that was never going to happen with Dragon Lee and Obafemi. And he grabs him and he hits that big ass power bomb. 1, 2, 3. And we get it. And I'll show it one more time. And new North American champion Obafemi. And yes, this portion of the crowd, not really sure how they feel about it. Not really doing a whole hell of a lot. But the crowd popped for this. The crowd was excited to see Oba win. The crowd was excited to see Obafemi at all. They were really cheering for him. They weren't even cheering for Dragon Lee, which is scary. Scariest part here is they were not cheering for Dragon Lee. They were cheering for Oba the moment he came out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
take advantage of it. Mm-hmm.
I agree. I think that this makes sense for a multitude of reasons. One, Dragon Lee is the main roster star at this point now. He has things to do on the main roster with Santos Escobar, who, by the way, conveniently just finished the North American title stuff and needs something to do now going forward, now that Kevin Owens is the United States champion, number 1 contender. So it makes perfect sense that this is the time to do it. Also, it also makes sense that Dragon Lee was never supposed to be the North American champion. This was probably supposed to be Wesley, but Wesley got hurt. And when Wesley got hurt and Dominic was losing the title and lost the title, I said Dragon Lee's either going to have a long reign while they try to figure out just make him a bigger star, or they're going to go ahead and he's going to have a short reign until they figure out who to get it onto next to start telling more stories that they want to tell. Mm-hmm. Obviously, they chose the short term, and they made a perfect idea of pivoting to a hot star in Obafemi, who makes a lot of sense with the cash in. And if he loses it, fine. This guy you can now flip-flop this title between 5 guys, until you're ready. You don't have to do anything big with the storylines. You can do, honestly, Vengeance Day. I think it's Obafemi versus Lexis King.
Yeah, I was going to say that too.
I think Lexis wins that match, to be honest with you.
Probably.
I'm surprised to see Lexis King cheat to win and somehow win that match. I don't want him to. I don't think it makes a whole lot of sense. But with Obafemi, you're open to a whole lot more. You can have the North American Championship switch hands. You can start bouncing it around a little bit with some of these guys. You can really do a lot more with it than having it on Dragon Lee, because it's not going to hurt Obafemi anywhere near as much as it's going to hurt other people to lose this championship. Why? Because he's brand new, but he's a hot star. And like you said, he's got the hot hand. The crowd's into him. Put the title on him. Mm-hmm. It's a North American title. You're not putting the world title on him. It's a North American title. It's your secondary championship. He can be mentored from some great talents that you have in that division. I mean, I'm not saying less is king there, but there are plenty of people in that North American title division. Drew Gulak, Charlie Dempsey, Axiom, Nathan Frazer. You have a multitude of little guys that this man can throw around for 3-4 months. Hell, you could bring this all the way to Toronto. You could book Oba as champion, throwing around little dudes until Toronto, and then bring in a big dude to take him out. Maybe Ridge Holland. I wouldn't be surprised to see Ridge beat him in Toronto. That might be fun.
Yeah, that's true.
But we've come to the end of the show. We're going to go ahead and talk about what comes next week. And what comes next week is more dusty first round matches. As we can see right here, we're going to have the LWO taking on Andre Chase University, which is going to be made up of Riley Osborne and Duke Hudson. We're also going to see Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams taking on Idris Enofe and Malik Blade. You're also going to get a 20-woman battle royal, which I got sent the graphic and didn't download it for some odd reason. I've downloaded everything else but that graphic. But Ash is going to go ahead and pull that up. Meanwhile, I'll also talk about the fact that we're going to get a tag team match between Elektra Lopez and Lola Vice taking on Lyra Valkyria and Tatum Paxley as a tag team next week. And I'm almost certain that Ashton's going to have that graphic for me right now. Let me go ahead and pull that up. Bam! Thank you, Astrid. So, based on this graphic, we've got Tatum Paxley, Lola Vice, Lash Legend, Izzy Dame, Kalani Jordan. I don't know who the hell the blonde is.
I know she was in the tournament. I don't remember her name, though.
Okay. We got Elektra Lopez. You've got Carmen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you got Kiana. Then you've got Ariana, Gigi, Cora, Roxanne, Fallon, Jada, Blair, Nikkita, and the one on the bottom is somebody.
Stevie.
Oh, is that Stevie Turner on the bottom? On the
bottom?
Oh, okay. Good for her. She's back.
Next to Nikkita. Yeah.
But that only leaves 18 people, which means that there are 2 spots left available. We've been talking about it. Tiffany Stratton is not on that graphic. Potentially could be in that match. I doubt it, but could be. More importantly, you brought up that who's missing on this graphic that you mentioned?
JC and Thea.
And that, I think, is definitely where we're headed for the final 2 participants. Barry says, I assume Andre Chase is going to cost Chase you the match. He might. I think they win that match. I think that they're the biggest chance to put over of Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams. I think it's Chase U. If Chase U gets to that match, I think you can theoretically go ahead and beat Trick and Mello with those guys and Chase U. I don't think that's a bad idea. But, I mean, I don't see them losing next week. But, speaking of next week, we'll be back here next week. But, Astrid, go ahead and tell the good people where they can go ahead and buy that delightful t-shirt that you're wearing right now.
Look how pretty it is. You can go to foryourwear.com /astridpizarro. As you can see, Mel and Mike already got theirs too, and I just got mine just in time to wear for the Rumble as well. But yeah, if you scan the QR code, that's another way you can get it too.
And speaking of the Rumble, if you want to go ahead and buy merch for the Rumble, you can go ahead and use Astrid's affiliate link right here on the screen with this QR code, and you're going to pay the same great prices that you're already going to pay. You don't have to pay anything more, but what you do is by scanning this link and shopping with this link, you go ahead and support Astrid directly so she can go ahead and pay for that hotel room for the Rumble. You can go ahead and help her get some more gear so that she can be ready for the Rumble. You can go ahead and do fantastic things to help out Astrid, like finding out where Ash is going to be on all the social media platforms.
Well, before that, I think Bobby, if I'm not mistaken, Bobby's gonna join me this weekend. So Barry, you should be happy about this. We're gonna do a Hard to Kill post show after Hard to Kill this weekend. It's the first official paper before TNA, so we had to say, we had to discuss it here on OLE. But another thing I would say, stay tuned because we have a lot of stuff that we're cooking behind the scenes, to put it like that. We also have, I know I won't be here for the Rumble, but obviously we're gonna have a Rumble post show. I may show up depending if you guys are live by the time it happens too. And we got guests coming up. So I'm just saying, stay tuned. Subscribe to the channel if you're having, especially on YouTube. Follow us on Twitch. We got a lot of stuff coming up that we're planning. So you never know who's going to show up on screen pretty soon. But other than that, you can find me on my Twitter and Blue Sky as astridpizarro, and then Threads and Instagram is astridpizarro20.
You can also make sure you go ahead and check out her YouTube page, as you can find all of the former episodes of Astrid Asks, including the Astrid Asks that Ed asked Astrid. Some questions.
And more coming soon.
Yeah, you got some more coming up. Have you filmed any, or just?
It's coming.
Remember, Astrid's gonna be asking a whole lot of people at the Royal Rumble during the press week, so she's gonna have a couple mini episodes of Astrid Asks, or you can do one big Astrid Asks with all of your interviews with all the fine people there. For me, it's pretty simple. You can find me on Twitter at edfries12584. You can find me on the Twitch, where I simulcast all my wonderful content. And for our local establishment, you can find that at edfries2002. I do some gaming stuff on there when I can. It's been busy with our local establishment stuff. Lately, we've had some changes going on, and I've been making sure I take a little bit more on the back end to make sure that everything's going right. We've got some wonderful shorts that are being produced by Mark Talks Wrestling. So you can go ahead and check out his page. He's made it so great by being able to go ahead and take some of these wonderful segments from our shows and going ahead and breaking them down. So a big shout out to him. We've got Talking Takeover coming up sometime in this month. I want to try to get it done, but we still got some graphical work that we got to do for that. Marvel Talk, we'll be back probably next week, maybe the end of this week. We're going to be talking all things Echo, as Echo has released on Disney Plus. As of right now, I haven't watched it yet. I'm dying to watch it. It looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. We'll be doing that. We have our Marvel MCU Rebound. We're going to be talking about the Incredible Hulk. That'll be probably coming in the next week or so as well. So keep your eyes out for that. What do we got? Any last comments? We got Barry Monkey saying, I'll have to find somewhere to watch Hard to Kill. I mean, buy it. That's it. Not anything else. Honest. It's okay, Barry. It's Impact. Trust me. They won't even know if you don't watch it. Speaking of Impact, can we just have a small thing here? Those new titles. Barry, I want your honest opinion here. Awful, like I think, or good, like Astrid thinks?
I think.
Barry, what do you think? We're gonna sit here. We're gonna wait.
I will get them props, so they're doing great with the marketing, and I forgot who pointed it out today as well. But the fact that they have they're unveiling every championship every single day, so they have some kind of coverage every single day, and I like having that moment of, Scott D'Amore giving the championship to the champion, presenting it, the pictures, the photo shoot, the whole thing. I love how they're doing it. Whoever's doing it, I enjoy it.
Oh, Barry doesn't.
Oh, come on, Barry. You're supposed
I don't
to help
like
me
them.
on this.
I don't like them. I think they're ugly. And it's coming from a WWE guy who our company decides to put a big W on a belt and call it a day. But give me those big W belts any day of the week compared to these new TNA championships. TNA used to have some great championship designs. And the one that's most awful to me is the X Division. Because that used to be the pinnacle of great designed titles, is that X Division championship. And this new one it almost feels like a bad version of the NXT title. Remember the original NXT title with the big X in it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Barry says, I'm more worried about the big signing is going to be Top Dollar. Oh, big Top Dollar fan. I like it. But for myself, for Ashley, we'll be here next week talking all things NXT on Taking Over. Until then, we'll see you. Bye.